one of the real puzzles here is what kind of phenomenon are we dealing with? I mean, in parapsychology, there are reports of what are known as materializations, where stuff appears apparently out of nowhere, but materialized phenomena usually disappear again. They dematerialize. And then there's another phenomenon called an apport, where something disappears from one location but reappears somewhere else. Now, Katie's phenomenon, the gold leaf or the golden leaf, doesn't fall neatly into either of those categories, because although it seems to come out of nowhere, it doesn't disappear. So I and others have scraped off quite a lot of it and had it analyzed. And, so we don't really know where to classify this. This is the only case of its kind I'm aware of.
What is it when it's analyzed?
It turns out to be brass. It's not actually. Yeah, I know. Very disappointing.
They could have made a fortune on her this time.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because people often ask, understandably, they often ask,
she sheds an alloy?
Why is the phenomenon taking?
How does she shed an alloy? How does that work? Is her skin smelting bronze and iron?
As you and your listeners probably know, the standard explanation of poltergeist-like phenomena is that these are person-centered cases. That is, they center around a particular individual. Sometimes the phenomena follows that person leaves to another location. And the other part of the explanation is that the phenomena are a manifestation of the agent's deep-seated emotional issues, which can't be expressed in any other conventional way. Now, Katie was experiencing, or I should also say, Katie had no psychic ability she was aware of until she married her current and second husband.
It would be more likely to be sucking gold.
And at one point, poltergeist-like things were happening to Katie. So objects were appearing and disappearing in her house and moving around and so on. And then one day, this is a difficult marriage, I should mention that. So one day, a carving set appeared out of nowhere.
A carving set?
A carving set, you know, different. And Katie's husband said to her, what good is it if it isn't money? And then 2 days later, Katie's body started to break out and it looked like gold leaf. So if you want my psychological analysis of this, it would be that symbolically it satisfies Katie's husband's demand for something valuable, but he doesn't really have to bear the responsibility of being the goose that laid the golden egg.
Is there a medical condition out there, Stephen, that would do this?
Not that I'm aware of, and none of Katie's medical procedures...
It's an alloy! You don't find bronze!
And, I mean, when you consider the quantity of stuff that appears on her body, since brass is copper and zinc, it has lethal amounts of copper and zinc in the system, but
copper and zinc, whatever.
Is she in pain when this happens?
I wouldn't say she's in pain, because very often when the foil appears, sometimes because of the itchy or slightly burning sensation, and the skin will be a little red sometimes after you take it off.
How rapidly does it
Literally instantaneously. So where before there was nothing, you might see a quarter, a half-inch deep foil.
All over the body.
Not as well, it can appear anywhere on the body. And it looks like some people have described it as sweating it, but I'm not sure it's actually coming out of her.
I mean, I'm trying to picture this. Would it appear on just her arm, or her leg, or on the back, on her back, or all over at one time?
Sometimes on her, it sometimes appears in multiple locations. Often on her abdomen, or her back, or her arms, her hands, her face.
Like a small spot?
Sometimes a small spot, sometimes large quantities of it. It could be a 6-inch patch.
And you can see it.
You can pull it off. It's like an even thinner version of the wrapping on Hershey's Kisses.
Okay, all right. So it's made out of brass, but it would look like aluminum foil, basically.
Yeah.
How bizarre.
It really is.
No trickery here on her part.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
First of all,
I don't think so.
Check it out. And one of the things they and everybody else seems to agree on is that it's very difficult to manipulate. It's very staticky. It's very clingy. She's also been observed to produce this under conditions where I think trickery would be impossible. So if somebody's holding her hand, for example, and it appears on her arm, right in front of their eyes, they scrape it off and then more appears.
More keeps coming, yeah.
It's clear she's not accessing some hidden fresh foil nearby and then just slapping it on her body. It's just, first of all, it's too hard to manipulate. Secondly, it's happening much too quickly.
Mother, father, sisters, have they ever had this happen?
No. Although I think some of Katie's children have since exhibited some psychic abilities, but the 10th of 12 children born to a poor family in Tennessee, and father knows there was...
Being a lying con man runs in the family!
For Katie, it only began after she married her second and current husband.
And can she do this at will now?
Not that. She can do the mediumistic thing at will, but this is more like an affliction. There are periods where she'll be producing it quite often, and she might go through high spells when nothing happens for weeks and months at a time.
Does it disintegrate afterwards? How long does it last? Let's say she
I've got a big collection. You do last permanently, yeah.
Okay, all right, just like a piece of brass wood, I guess.
I guess so, and the reason, she would like it to stop, basically. Imagine she's trying to check out at the 7-Eleven or something like that, and something appears on her face. What are you going to say to the cancer?
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Probably not going to ever be a problem.
No, miss, you have this brass spot on it.
Right.
What have you concluded about this, and why is it happening? I mean, is there any kind of symbolism behind this?
Well, the symbolism that I mentioned, I think because she's in a difficult marriage, she's not giving her husband what he really wants. It's one way, I think, of expressing her rage against her husband. So it's like giving him a psychic finger. She's giving him full goals.
It's like that movie Carrie, she gets upset.
Yeah. Right. So it's not the only thing I can say. I think I can give a psychological explanation of why it's happening, but I don't even know how to this day. I do not know how to classify the phenomenon.
Has she been looked at by doctors?
Oh, sure. I mean, like any normal person, she's now in her late 50s. I mean, she's had medical tests of various kinds.
P.T. Barnum would have her in a circus by now, wouldn't he?
Well, probably she could do it as well. She can.
And in terms of personality, what kind of person is she?
I love that person. She's very smart, lots of common sense, and a very down-to-earth person. She's a very helpful person. And I'll say, I've investigated a number of ostensible psychics, and she's the most cooperative subject I've ever had to deal with. She has put up with all the indignity of sparing parts of her body and for distinguished observers like myself, and really allowing herself this position of vulnerability, which I think very few people would be comfortable with.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. What does this tell you about the psychic world? Let's put her aside for just a moment. What is going on in the world of parapsychology that people are tapping into?
Well, I mean, it's certainly another, although unprecedented, kind of psychokinesis. And I've been particularly fascinated by psychokinesis since I got into this, in part because I think it's a somewhat easier type of parapsychological phenomenon to investigate, and it's something you can video record or whatever. But one of the reasons I'm fascinated by PK, or psychokinesis, is that it helps me to understand why most people who want to deny that there's any such thing deny it with such rancor and such anger. And I often wonder about the amount of emotion that gets invested in the people who deny that there's psychic ability.